It's Thursday evening. You know what that means. It's time for the Caz and Daz show, brought to you by FocusHoops, presented by Notch, where we talk about all things women's basketball. Kazzy B, how you doing?
I'm good. We're gearing up for the final weekend of the WBBL season as well this weekend. Final week, I should say. Last game's on Wednesday.
That's come around quick.
It has.
How have you found like the run into the end of the season, and just the season in general for you? Obviously, with your new commentator role.
I feel like you say, it feels like it's gone very quick. It started, then we had quite a bit of. It felt like a pause after Christmas, and then the last few months have just kind of flown by. But it's getting really. It's obviously like heating up, isn't it? Seven Oaks, can they go unbeaten? Teams fighting for playoff spots. But I think it's been good. I think it's been a good, fun season. A lot of unexpected things, good and bad. But I think it's been a really fun season.
I think it's been a really fun season. We're going to talk about that more later, because today, joining us, along with the basketball royalty of the Manchester Met Mystics commentary team, Kaz Bullock, we have the one, the only, WNBA and MNBA journalist extraordinaire and Welsh icon, Huw Hopkins, joining us. Huw,
I don't know what I ever do to deserve these plaudits.
We had like stadium effect, like Huw. But like obviously more grandiose.
It'd be totally undeserved.
Absolutely,
it's an honour to join you. How are you?
Thriving, absolutely thriving. I had my last commentary of the season last night, so I'm a little bit. It's an interesting one. I'm sort of feeling that post-game high of like, yeah, he was awesome, and also the crushing despair that is several months without commentary. So,
are you not doing any playoff stuff then, or do we just leave it all to Dan Rutledge?
Basically, we're going to leave it all to Dan, or maybe not Dan, but no, I'm not in the running for the playoffs. I don't think, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
This is where you just have to run around and commentate your life and your wife's. Just going to the fridge.
Just going to commentate the dog, to be honest. It's going to be great.
And that's a great move to the fridge there. Perfect pouring of the milk.
Who was it that did that with like all manner of things? It was a couple of football commentators.
I think he's either a cricket journalist or a rugby journalist. A Scottish guy who he started commentating his dogs. That was epic.
Yeah. Is that Ian Dennis? I want to say Ian Dennis, but I'm probably wrong.
I can't remember the name.
Huw, it's been a bit since you've been here. It's been about 23 episodes since we've last had you, I think. And,
Snubbed.
Don't you dare. Absolutely not snubbed. Unless you're telling us we've been snubbed. Because
perhaps it's reciprocal, because maybe I count snubbed as being invited to come on the show with like 4 minutes warning.
Yeah,
clearly I'm just an afterthought at that point. But
no, pre-planning is just not our strength.
I think I heard from you at around lunchtime today, which was a real record. So thank you.
Yes. In our defense, that decision was taken at midnight last night. So, pre-planning. Anyway, wonderful. You are here for obviously the very important business of talking about the WNBA draft and all of its historic implications. But we've got a bigger fish to fry right now. Jersey Gate. Dun, dun, dun. But it's lighthearted. The Indiana Fever jersey. Huw, I need your hot take on this.
Hugh's got some wild takes on these jerseys. I think we had a falling out over some of the other ones.
I mean, I actually like the one on the right and the left here. That middle one, I'm afraid, is just corny. I'm all for them pushing the boat out and stuff. And I guess if you want to go, it's termed Rebel Edition, isn't it? If you're gonna really go for, creativity and silliness, then you're gonna go for it with the Rebel Edition. Personally, I think what the WNBA have done across the board, really, with the sort of more standard uniforms, I think they're so clean, they're so beautiful. So well done to the creatives at Nike who are behind it. But and to be honest, the majority of the Rebel ones are pretty damn awesome. But there have been a few issues with the Dallas one.
With it.
We don't need to necessarily go into that, but you've also the Chicago one. I know I'm talking to a Sky fan here, Caz, but I'm sorry. I just think the glass smashed one, cool concept, creative concept. I like it. It just looks a little bit like a Pokemon. I felt like I had found, a really rare Pokemon on Pokemon Go or something.
It's just like, who's that Pokemon?
I think it's awesome. I think when we see them on court, you're going to be like, oh, I love Pokemon and I love the Chicago Sky.
It's usually the case where they do look better on the court in the full garb when you're actually out there, but just as a standalone.
For me, I've seen it on some players with the shorts. It's not doing it for me.
I've decided it's because Steph Dawson was wearing the shorts too high, and I think that angle wasn't a great angle of them. That was my take.
Steph Dawson is a high short wearer.
Yeah.
I need some baggy shorts.
What I've been meaning to do is do a really big deep dive into the shorts fashion within the WNBA, because I spoke to Lexi Brown about it last year, I think it was, and she's like a proper. She prefers her shorts short, whereas you get the Diana Taurasi's who prefer them long and baggy, like sort of almost like 90s style. Yes. But then you get Steph Dawson with quite a bit higher.
Tia Cooper as well. Hers are like super. They're like football shorts almost, like women's football shorts.
Yeah, and Courtney Williams often has quite baggy ones. There's a whole array, and I'd love to do like just if someone wants to commission me to do a deep dive into getting interviews with lots of different players about their shorts preference, I think that could be a real eye-opening area for proper analysis.
You don't understand how much I enjoy the aesthetics of sport, how excited I am about the prospect of that deep dive. It's that's going to be a 3-article thing. Bill Simmons, the Ringer. That's a real Ringer piece right there. You need to get on the phone to Bill.
All right.
Also, I've got to pick you up on one thing, because you said that what they've done with the Heroine and Explorer edition jerseys, so fresh, so clean. Oh no!
But I think, what's the worst one there? Really, I think probably the mid. Let's be honest though. I think the Sparks rebrand, is just a bit. Great. It's just a bit damp squibbish, isn't it?
Why is it teal? Why do we have teal? I tweeted them. They did not get back to me. But why is it teal? Why is the Yankees fresh teal?
I don't actually mind first of all, the black and yellow. Beautiful, love that. I actually like the colors and the sort of style of the fonts. I just don't like. I'm really not on board with the logo that they're going with. The
exploding palm tree.
Yeah, I know it's harkening back to the first season and stuff, and it's just I think it just looks more dated than any of the other. Yeah. Any of the other jerseys and any of the other relaunches, because a lot of teams have really gone for it this year with the anniversary.
I think we all know that the nicest jerseys are actually the white and the blue Dallas Wings jerseys. But
honestly, the Dallas ones are really, like I said before, really crisp and fresh and beautiful to look at. Apart from obviously that middle one, which we're not allowed to talk about anymore.
We're not allowed to talk about. And that was our ranking. We had Phoenix and Aces white jersey taking number 1 spot with the Phoenix Sunset jersey.
Hold on, let me just put this screen a bit bigger so I can judge you harshly on this.
This was not just me. This was also Caz and this guy Show Chai off of Twitter.
Okay, I've got some issues.
I'm excited for this. Let's go.
First of all, that Seattle one at the bottom. What are you thinking? That needs to be like a top 2 band, really. The Lynx one, come on. The Lynx, both Lynx ones on that B tier, that needs to be much higher.
What?
The Lynx one on tier B. I'm sorry, they are well, certainly that one with the side profile, the white one. That is a top tier one. I really like that you got Phoenix and the Aces up top. The one that you bought though? What, are you not a fan of that one as much as the? I guess you got it on that second tier, haven't you?
We went full democracy here. If this was me and I went full dictator Darren, this would look very different. That Sparks jersey, that white Sparks jersey, I don't think it would even made D tier. It would have been like, get out of here tier. It does not work for me. I think that might just be because I'm a Boston sports fan, and therefore LA is just a bit of a. The Aces jersey would have been higher. The Chicago jersey, I think I tried to put lower. The Shatter, the guess that Pokemon one.
Yeah, get the Pokemon one down.
The Seafoam Liberty one.
That's cool.
That's cool.
The whole Liberty equality thing, very cool. I like that concept. Definitely,
it's a nice concept. But the question was: is it just lip service, or is it a bit deeper?
Well, we know the WNBA is pretty good at backing up its its feelings about certain things. It's probably the best league in the world for that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think there's obviously been one or two issues at Nike regarding one or two of the jerseys, but at the same time, I think the rollout was pretty good, apart from the fact that a bunch of them leaked. A bunch of them turned up in what are they called? Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yes.
In random stores around the US before the official launch date, and they weren't going through the till because they weren't supposed to be on sale. So, yeah, there's obviously communication issues, which we know is a long time problem with the WNBA. But it's upward trajectory. That's what we're focusing on.
Oh, immensely, massively so. Like the fact that we've been able to do this and have fun with it, but this hasn't been possible in years past.
God, no.
Like, no, you'll know better than me. Has there ever been bespoke jerseys for the league?
There have. But it was like the first few seasons, but I think they just started going to boilerplate stuff. I'm not sure of the year, but basically everybody was on the same template, and it was just, I bought the first year of the Aces. I bought that jersey, and you could just change the color on the side and it would be the Atlanta Dream jersey. Really, it was there was very little difference. So it's nice to see them getting creative concepts. Not just colors and not just using their alternate logos. Using actual concepts like the Native American one with the Connecticut sun, the Mohegan thing. That's awesome. Such a cool story. There was a couple of other really cool stories as well. Again, the Chi-Town smashing glass story is cool. Not so great concept. The Washington Rise jersey, that's another one of those that has sort of come under a little bit of flack because of the law that it's referring to apparently didn't necessarily. I don't know the full details behind it. I'll have to apologize for this, but apparently the law didn't necessarily include black women at that time. So it was a voting right for women, but not for those of African descent at the time. So so there are some slight misfires, but in terms of having concepts, having ideas, getting creative, it's great to see.
I completely agree. Are they still allowed to wear the Rise jersey, or did that get taken?
No, I think the Rise jersey. I haven't heard that it's coming down. No. I think the Dallas one is the only one that's sort of been completely brushed off to the side. I reckon we're probably going to see a new one instead of that one.
Fingers crossed. Just give him the Dallas, the green, the green, like the dark green, like Dallas Mavericks one.
I was going to say it'd be nice
really
to
nice one.
Not the very bright there. I'm not trying to lump WNBA with MNBA, but at the same time it'd be cool to where teams have got where there are teams in the same city. I think it would be cool to just have a little nod, and not just on the WNBA side, on the MNBA side as well. If they could sort of give a little nod next season, perhaps, I think that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it'd be really cool. Like, even just, I mean, LA could take the black and yellow jersey, for example. But yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be cool and doable if there are links in the city. I'm here for it. Right. Now the important stuff's out of the way. Let's get to the silly business of the WNBA draft. Ooh. He says, obviously, in jest. Last Thursday evening, or Thursday night, I suppose, our time. And that got out of hand fast, didn't it?
I think it just goes to show, well, it shows several things. The average WNBA fan, women's basketball fan in the United States, doesn't necessarily pay attention to basketball around the rest of the world, because the scouts and the coaches and the people making these selections, they have been watching tape. They've been going to games. Some of them even coach abroad during the off season of the WNBA. So they get to see people like Collier, Shyla Heal, several of the other international players that were taken in the first round. I think it was 3 or 4 in the first round. I'm letting myself down now, but I think it was 3. It was Eliana Rupert as well from France. Yeah. So you've got, I don't know if that's a record in terms of the number of internationals taken in the first round, but it goes to show that I wrote this in a piece for Sky that I think the individuals internationally are catching up with Americans. Teams are not yet. Your Team USA is still going to dominate at this year's Olympics and probably for the next Olympics as well. But individuals from around the world are catching up, just as they have done for the entirety of the WNBA. We've got Liz Cambage, of course. We've got Lauren Cox in the past. Lauren Jackson, apologies. We have seen these international players go over. We've got our own Temi Fagbenle go over, and Andrea Congreves was there right at the start. So there's a lot of international talent that makes it to the WNBA. I don't know why. Perhaps better pathways in the women's game compared to the men's game, but certainly I think it goes to show that no mock drafts. I'd say including my own. I didn't do a mock draft, but certainly the talent that I'd been watching outside of Awak Queer, I wasn't necessarily aware of the prospects of Shyla Heal and Eliana Rupert going in the first round. Certainly thought they'd be selected. They're good enough players for their respective countries. But I think it's a good sign for international basketball on the women's stage.
Speaking of international basketball, of course, third pick in the second round going to the Atlanta Dream, Raquel Carrera Quintana.
Oh,
where was her? Oh, have I said her name wrong?
No. Yeah, no. What a player. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh my God. How much has her stock risen as a result of the Euro Cup Final Four?
I think it must have done. If you consider the Euro Cup, it's probably the second biggest stage in European basketball.
Yep.
So outside of the WNBA, outside of the Olympics, perhaps the World Cup, it's probably the 5th or 6th biggest stage in the world in women's basketball. To go to the rim, get fouled, and sink 2 free throws to go from behind, down 1, and then go ahead by 1 in that Euro Cup final with less than a second left on the clock. That takes some guts. And she's 19, or is she 20?
19. No, she's 19 years old. It's incredible, isn't it?
Even today, at a local league level, if I go to the free throw line and it's like the first quarter and the game doesn't matter at all, I will miss both those free throws because everybody's watching me take free throws. Yeah. To do that, it's a different level of confidence you have to have in yourself. And honestly, I sort of thought Raquel might actually go in the first round because of that performance.
Yeah.
a third pick in the second round. That's not far out of the first round. But yeah, it's great to see her getting recognized like that.
No, I mean, Caz and I were watching the game, like remotely chatting, and the courage in that play,
pressure,
incredible.
Word. Oh, I felt so bad for Temi though.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely gutted.
And
is it Beck Allen as well? Just stood
yeah,
behind
just losing it.
Throws this.
But no, I thought, just on another tangent, that the Euro Cup Final Four more enjoyable than the EuroLeague Final Four. Dare I say? This year,
I think a lot of but possibly. I'd possibly agree with you on that. I think that final game for I think CBA Avenida, they were the team of EuroLeague Final Four, even though they didn't win.
Yeah,
I think they produced two excellent games, and they were exciting down to the wire, both of them. And they were the underdog in both of them, possibly. But I think when you compare the sort of top tier talent, I think sort of Top Gun to Top Gun. I think you'd probably take most of the other three teams over CBA, to be perfectly honest. But it was great to see them really fight. They have a lot of trust in each other. That team has been together for a couple of years now. With the addition of one or two international pieces, obviously. But Carly Samuelson has been there for a few years. Hoff has been there for a few years, I believe. I think she's been there for a few years. Even though she sort of got, I think, best up and comer or something. She was on that list of awards, but she's improved so much. And yeah, I think it's a really great team that they've got there. And obviously Tiffany Hayes does her thing. But it was great to see. It was really enjoyable. But both of them were really great. But yeah, I'd probably agree with you. Euro Cup was excellent fun this year. Enjoyed watching it.
I'm really pulling for a Valencia Avenida final in the Spanish playoffs. I think that would be great fun. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's probably going to be the way that it goes as well, to be honest.
Probably. The winning margin over the two games was 1 point for Avenida. They won one game by 2 and lost the other by 1. Insanely close. Okay, let's have a look at our very high-tech. There it is. It's a webpage.
Oh, look at
this. I know. Okay, so first couple of draft picks. Dallas Wings. Pick number 1, Charlie Collier, the forward center from Texas. Dallas Wings, and then took the second pick, the first time ever. They were very excited about this. Awak Collier. Caz, you interviewed Collier the other day, the Finnish center. What were your take? We'll just start backward as we ever do on this show. What were your takeaways from the interview with Collier?
Yeah, I think she's really excited about coming over to play in the WNBA. She's excited to play against the players in the league. She said, looking forward to meeting her teammates, but she's also excited to just come over and live in America, just with it being so different to Finland. And that's an experience she's looking forward to. She was also talking about, like, I asked her for people that hadn't seen her play before, how would she describe her game? And she says, she's just an athletic player who can run the floor. She loves playing defense. She can do a bit of everything, but she's really, really high on being a good defensive player. And she said playing pro for the year that she has is something that's really helped her learn that while she's been in Italy. So and her length is incredible. Like, we tweeted out a quick highlights tape of her in Euro Cup, and she's just long. She's so good, and I love that pickup for Dallas as well.
So as a Dallas Wings, is fan too strong a word? Because I'm going to use it. Should I be excited?
You should be excited. You should be excited.
Tell me about Charlie Collier. Who?
Charlie Collier is a good athletic. My concern with taking Charlie and Awak 1 and 2 is that they're the same sort of size. arguably Awak can play 3 positions, so I don't think we need to worry too much about the positionality because I think Charlie can only really play that big center position, whereas Awak can play small forward, power forward, and big. Charlie Collier is very good, very talented. She's got one of the best sort of run to the post games. You know, because she's athletic, she'll just beat a player down the court, and it often end up with sort of a mismatch. When you get down low, the ball gets thrown into her, and she has a good feel, an offensive feel in terms of like when someone is defending her, she can sort of spin either direction quite comfortably and go in for an easy drop step and an easy layup. My concern is that she's 6'5", which is a big size, but I can't see her playing the 4, and she's going to be going up against Liz Cambage, Brittany Griner, Sylvia Fowles, who are 6'7", 6'8", and they're much more physical, much stronger than her. So I think she's going to have to learn to play a little bit further away from the basket, because they're going to be good defensive players who are able to, you know, not give her so much of one side to attack to, you know, which is something that she was able to do very well against, you know, 19, 20-year-olds. But now she's going up against fully grown women who are pretty good at what they do. That being said, you know, there's only really 4, maybe 5 true bigs in the WNBA at the moment. So half the league she'll be able to play well against. I just worry that her game won't immediately translate. Whereas I think Awak Queer, I think it might, because of her versatility, she may end up getting a few more looks and some better opportunities, which might make some people question the choice of 1 or 2 once the season starts. But we'll see. It's a good storyline.
It's good. It is a good storyline. Dallas have been interesting in the drafts last couple of years because they've got Collier, Courier, they've got the Satunicorn, got Bella Allery. I wonder about Bella Allery if she makes it out of camp. I
mean, she's been in pretty good form, to be fair. Watching her in EuroLeague, she was the backup, but I thought every time I watched one of their games, she played really well. And I think it was just that she was beaten by a better player. On that team, I think her competition is going to be Charlie. It's going to be Isabel Harrison. There's another big. I feel like I'm missing one. It's completely left me.
I was trying to find their preseason roster. It's
regardless. I think if she doesn't get on the Wings team, I'm inclined to think that she would. To be honest, I think the player that possibly misses out if they need to cut one of those bigs might be Harrison, simply because not necessarily because Bella Allery is better, more to do with the fact that they're going young. You know, I think this will be Harrison's 5th or 6th season, and everyone else is only in their 2nd or 3rd.
Isabel Harrison, 4 years.
So I think she's got 4 years experience.
Yeah.
And
so this is year 5.
This is year 5.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's going to be an interesting composition, and I'm very interested, more than anything, I'm interested to see what happens coaching wise, because you have a pure fire scorer in the point guard's name. What is
Arika Gumbawale?
Arika Gumbawale, thank you. She is going to be the leading scorer of that team. But at the same time, you have a lot of young players who have a lot of talent, but possibly need nurturing. whereas Arike is ready to just go. So it's going to be interesting to find out how the coaching staff brings along that team, because they were battling for a playoff spot last year. They might even get slightly further in the playoffs than I think a few people might immediately think. I'm not making any bold predictions here, but I think they could be competing for perhaps a second round. We shall see. We shall see, because they're still very young.
I heard you say championship.
I see Arike and I see Diana Taurasi 10 years ago, so I think she might have the capability of just lifting a team and dragging it to wherever she wants to go.
It makes me laugh when you say they're going to need like nurturing and like a bit of gentle introduction to the league, I suppose, because Arike doesn't need that. Do you see the bench with Dinamo Kursk?
yeah, exactly. And I think, I think Arike is ready. And the one thing about the WNBA is that they play for like 3 months. You don't have time to say, oh, it's okay, you missed that shot, oh, you missed that defensive assignment, oh, you missed that pass. You'll get it next time. There's none of that in the WNBA. It's cutthroat. So you need to be on point straight away. And that's why you might see, so I guess I'm sort of, being slightly hypocritic now. But, that's why the Wings might go for Isabel Harrison over Bella Alarie, because Harrison doesn't make mistakes very often. She's not the most explosive scorer. She's obviously battled injuries and battled issues in previous seasons, but she's still pretty damn good. And she started for that Italian team. I can't remember the name of them now, but and she was one of their better players. So it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, who makes that team. But depending on the makeup of it, depending on how driven they are and how well coached they are, we could see them doing very well.
Okay, we're getting a little bit of crackle on Huw's microphone there, so do apologise for that. The joys of live audio, the live audio experience. Number 3, Atlanta Dream picked Aerie McDonald out of Arizona. We saw what she did in the tournament, I want to say, in the Final Four in particular. She nearly won that championship. That's outrageous. Again, another one who did her stock rise immensely because of the March Madness, because it felt like it did to me. I'm willing to be wrong.
I think there were a few people who were even considering slotting her at number 1. I don't think she was going to go number 1 ever, because I think Charlie Collier, put up too much of a good campaign throughout the regular season, throughout her 4 years at college. So I think she was always going to go number 1. But Aerie, she was fantastic, and I think her stock rose. But some people saw her going even higher. So I think she went at the right spot. A fantastic small guard. So what she's doing on the Atlanta Dream, I do not know. But I guess maybe they were just picking talent and seeing, but that point guard, 2 guard position is going to be a rock fight. I would love to, I'd love to be a fly on the wall during that training camp, because that's going to be hell.
Is Kennedy Carter's spot under fire here? Like, don't upset Caz or anything, but
quite possibly. I don't know what you think, Caz.
This is. I think. See, I said this, and I don't know if it went down too well with Darren and Mikey. I think they're going to be. the best backcourt, not the best, but the most fun backcourt, aren't they? It's going to be so fast, so fun. They're going to score loads of points. They might not win a lot, but they're going to be fun to watch. Like CJ and Dame on Portland. Like, it's going to be fun. Yeah, I do wonder how it works with two players that like the ball a lot. But when Carter was playing off ball last season, when she wasn't playing the point last season, you know, she's got more space to do things. So I wonder if maybe they either have a backup or they just switch.
I mean, they've also got Courtney Williams, who is, you know, another firecracker. And, you know, I think between Courtney Williams and Erin McDonald, you know, we're going to... No point guard is going to want to go up against them because they're going to be guarding them 94 feet. How they'll deal with then playing in the half court when the ball gets dumped to some of the bigger players and we get cross matches and that sort of thing, that's going to be difficult. We've seen a lot of people, a lot of, you know, experts more intelligent than us three put together say there are... The WNBA draft is about fit. It's not about talent. And that's a situation where Aerie could, you know, she could make the team and she could play a few minutes, but equally she could not. And she, you know, she could just, we could see her announcing her signing with Dynamo Kursk in 2 weeks' time, because
that won't happen. No, is Arike Gumbawala going back?
Okay.
Is her and Gumbawala going to work? Like, I don't know.
I think that they would play well. I think Gumbawala could be.
Actually, I think
she could be a two guard.
Yeah, well, she is a two guard, but in her first season with Dallas, she just had to play the one because they had no other one guard.
Yeah.
And last year we saw her play the two guard a bit. I think it was Mabry. Those two
they
together.
were great together.
Mabry just came out of... She didn't come out of nowhere, obviously, but it was like you look at her game log, DMP, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and then that monster performance against Phoenix.
But it is, like we said, it's like fit. You know, they just realized, oh, this person works really well next to this person. Let's just play a...
these guys played together in college for years. Like, it went pretty good.
Yeah.
It surprised me Atlanta took a guard rather than a big.
Yeah, especially because I don't know how well Kalani Brown has worked out in the WNBA. She's still in Atlanta, isn't she? Yeah. I'm not sure how well she's going to work out. You know, she's especially on that team. I don't know if she's quick enough to keep up with those three guards. With all the respect in the world, she's a much taller player and is better suited to a slower half-court offense, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that team. But I agree with you. I think they possibly should have taken a tall, athletic wing who could sort of play up a little bit. But there's a reason I'm not coaching in the WNBA.
Now, what kind of do you need qualifications to do that? Do you need some sort of coaching license?
I'm sure there is a coaching pathway, but that being said, there's a lot of former players who just get slotted in. I don't know if they've got coaching qualifications.
I wonder. Okay, right. This is where it all went a little bit spicy. Number 4 overall, going to Indiana Fever, Kaiser Gondrazic.
I think you mispronounced it. I think it's Rookie of the Year, Kaiser.
Sorry. I was about to say, like, you take issue with the WNBA pronunciation guide on that one. Rookie of the Year. So we're not having another...
Who else is going to be playing in Indiana?
That's a good point.
That's a very good point.
She was on, like... She was in the 3rd round of most people's mock drafts, right? And
including ESPN.
Yeah. So Indiana Fever have obviously seen something in her, and they've said, "Guys, let's just give her the ball." You know, I honestly think that's what's going to happen, and we're going to see. It's going to be interesting. I wonder if Temi, because of course Indiana Fever owns the rights to Temi Bentley now. I wonder if she's going to get a chance to play with it, because that'd be interesting. But fun guard. as much as I know about it, to be honest, like I don't study college basketball at all, really. On the men's side or the women's side, but my understanding is that she's a knockdown shooter who is sort of plays with good strength for her size, and can sort of be a 1 or a 2, is my understanding. So I think she's probably going to see more time at the point, or certainly more time receiving the ball to close out shot clocks, that sort of thing. Because really, like, who else is going to be doing it on the Indiana Fever this year?
Have we ever seen, not that I can remember and from everyone's reaction, have we ever seen someone jump that high that no one was expecting?
I mean, I like I said, I'm not a college expert. I haven't followed college basketball with great depth ever, so I might not be the best person to ask about that. But certainly, that was that. I was listening into to the Women's Basketball Weekly Clubhouse chat with Christina Williams, and there were a lot. There was a lot of reaction on that. Now they have a lot of reactionary people on it as well. You know, it's got a bunch of personalities tuning in, but everybody was shocked at Caz and Daz, and I think it showed how much of a shock it was because they had 2 clips of her. The ESPN broadcast, they showed those 2 clips and then they went immediately to a commercial break because they didn't know what to say about it. They didn't have any analysis on her. So I think it was a big shock. I think they sort of expected, oh, don't worry, we're not going to need to talk about her. She's going to be a late second or third round player when we're talking about other stuff and showing our feature packages. So yeah, it was a shock, but you know, it's going to be fun. They're either going to fail massively and it's going to be another Indiana Fever season, or she's going to be the Rookie of the Year.
That for me makes, I want to watch her straight away just because of the storyline. I want to see like what Indiana have seen.
Is Candice DePriest there, or did she get away?
She's in Seattle. Away.
Thank God.
She's in Seattle now.
I mean that with respect to her, because
she needed a chance to win. Yeah,
you saw the body language at the end of the season in games where she just looked such a frustrated figure. Like, I've given you guys my whole career to date. Let's do something. Oh, we're not doing anything. Okay.
No.
I respect the heck out of it. All right. 5th pick. We're not going to go through all, how many draft picks were there? 36 picks. We're going to go through all 36. We're just going to do the first 24. No, that's a joke. Anyway, number 5 to the Dallas Wings via Washington, Chelsea Dungy, Arkansas guard. What, again, a guard going to Dallas? Will they make the team? I don't know. I've got no other questions, really. Should I be excited?
This one, I'll be honest, I'm not hugely up on. Same as Kaiser Gondrezek, I think it was someone who was slightly above. I think people sort of expected a late first round if she was going to go anyway. I think I'm going to be drawing up blanks on this one. I don't know if you know any more, Kaz.
No, I'm not. I know the name. I've seen a few clips, but I'm not super familiar with her at all. But yeah,
sorry, go on.
Just another guard. Like Dallas have a lot of guards.
Yeah, and didn't they take one? Didn't they take one in the second round as well? I'm sure we'll come on to that. Dana Evans.
Dana Evans.
Who I think everybody expected sort of to be taken where Chelsea Dungy was taken.
She dropped.
It's sort of like, have you ever seen Draft Day, the sort of NFL movie? It was total kosh, but it was it was in a good way. Like it was a great film, but also kind of rubbish. And it was almost like the Dallas Wings said, Dana Evans, no matter what. And they let her drop, and they eventually got her because of the 1,700 trades that they made in the past couple of years.
So what I hear is very much like when the Seattle Kings took Nick Stauskas.
The Seattle Kings. Do you mean Sacramento Kings?
Did I say Seattle? I meant Sacramento Kings.
Seattle.
Sorry.
It's all good.
So when they took Stauskas and Vinek Ranadive, it's just going Ranadive. Sorry, it's going around being like Stauskas.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure. It might not have been the Nick Stauskas draft. It might have been a different draft, but he kept on comparing a player to Stephen Curry. And was saying, this guy is basically Stephen Curry, and it's just no.
I think that might have been.
It might have been Stauskas.
Or was it Buddy? Or was it Buddy Hield when they traded for him? Can't remember. I think it was Stauskas. Yeah. Is there anybody else in the first round that really jumps out at you as let's talk about this individual?
I think Renier Davis dropped quite far. Where I mean, I don't know how I don't know how Cheryl Reeve keeps doing it, but she keeps coming away with one of the best players in the draft every single year, even though she keeps drafting between 9 and 12 every single year. It's like I said at the start, it's great to see Shyla Heal. It's great to see Eliana Rupert. It's great to see Raquel Carrera, and there was another French woman. Late in the draft, in the third round, I think it was. The New York Liberty drafted another French Marine in Marine Fado. So that'll be interesting to see whether or not she comes over this year. I think one of the players that I really enjoyed, and mainly because of March Madness, was Kiana Williams. And also, I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan, and she's from San Antonio, and they sort of honored her at the San Antonio Spurs game. But one of the first things that she said during her draft interview was, I'm really looking forward to seeing Dan Hughes, because he was a coach of the San Antonio Silver Stars. And I just felt like she wasn't the best player on the court at any point in any game during her college career, probably, but she was the heart and soul of the team. And, she could score, I think it was like 12, 13 points, but she would always be able to hit the biggest shot on that team, on a very talented team as well. So it'll be interesting to see how she does, because she'll be playing behind Sue Bird. She'll also be playing behind Jordan Canada in Seattle. But I think she could be sort of playing alongside Jordan Canada in a couple of years' time. She won't see many minutes this year, but I think it's in terms of her skill set, in terms of what that team needs going forward after Sue Bird retires. I think she's got the perfect spot.
Player that I want to draw attention to in the third round with the 7th pick, the Indiana Fever via Chicago take Argentine guard Florencia Chagas, to much excitement all across Argentina. I got in touch with my main man, Facu Algoin, big Racing fan. And if you need Racing basketball or any basketball, Facu is your main man. Anyway, this is the message he sent me on Florencia. Tremendous joy about Florence. I remember when the tournaments between the provinces were played in the training sessions, everyone whined when they saw her on the court because they knew that she broke it, that they were going to be champions thanks to her. Ha ha ha! Today, everybody applauds her standing. So thank you, Facu, who writes so beautifully in a second language, more beautifully than I can write in my first language. And so big shout out to Facu. I'm excited. I am a big fan of Argentines in all sports. Meli Greta is my favorite basketball player. I want to see her in the league, firstly, sort it out WNBA teams. She's a great guard. You're doing yourselves misjustice. Anyway, could she make the Fever roster? I mean, third round, but
I mean, if we're truly honest with ourselves, half of the first round won't make it onto a roster.
that is fair.
The league is long due an expansion, and we're not gonna. Sadly, we're not going to see many of these rookies earn a spot, which is a real shame because I'd say, maybe not the top grouping. I think there's been years in the past few years where the top 5 picks have been better, but from top to bottom, I think it's I think it's one of the better WNBA drafts we've had. Like you said, the international talent from Argentina, France. All over
Spain.
Europe, it's been Serbia. There's been some fantastic players drafted, so that's great to see. But also, a lot of people said that the third round looked like the second round should have looked because so many players were drafted ahead of where they should have been. So many shock drafts. Kaiser Gondrezic taken up early. Shyla Heel moved up much further in the draft than a lot of people expected. So I think, I think the talent is it far outweighs what the league can offer at the moment. So we'll see what happens going forward. The Commissioner Kathy Engelbert said in her pre-draft press conference that should everything go well with the league this year, it might be that we start to see consideration of teams next season. I doubt they'll have everything in place to expand it to 14 teams next year, but perhaps we will get some news that there is a team in the works, and perhaps we could see something in 2023.
Yeah. The league needs to expand. We keep saying this. There's so much talent that you could. I know it goes beyond that. We're not simplistic children here. We do understand the realities of it, but the realities of it are you could make the WNBA the best league in the world. And it arguably, I don't know how to frame that because it's a summer league.
That's my position, is that everybody calls it the best league in the world, and possibly it has, it certainly has the best American talent.
Yeah.
I'd say that the world's talent pool on the women's side of basketball is more even, and I think there's a lot of American players who I'm sure we've spoken to. A lot of players say they go over to Europe because they have to supplement their income. They don't want to go there. They'd prefer to earn all of their income in their home country because it's their home country. Yeah, just as you or I, if we could play NBA or WNBA basketball ourselves, we'd probably prefer to have a franchise in our hometown, so we can just work out there and train there.
Bombay needs it,
and unfortunately, there's not one in the Rhondda Valleys that's good enough. Rest in peace, the Rhondda Rebels. But there's been a lot of talent that's migrated over to Europe, and I think that's risen the game in women's basketball. As a result, we've got fantastic teams and players in EuroLeague and even in EuroCup who play in the WNBA, and more in EuroCup and EuroLeague who could play.
Natasha Howard playing EuroCup final.
Exactly.
And Temi and a heap of other ridiculous talent.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's great to see. It really is. But until the WNBA moves to a 6-month league, 6-month sport, I want to see it double the amount of games. I want it to start in late October, finish in March, April. And, if you got double the amount of games, I don't see why you couldn't nearly double the salaries, in my view. And I think that's what they need to do, rather than just try and work around, international leagues, and then also the Olympics every 4 years and the World Cup every 4 years. And then other international tournaments like Eurobasket and
Yeah, I mean, Mieseman's not playing this year, for example.
So 3 out of 4 years, you're competing with an international tournament, and it's just not. To me, I just think it will always stop the WNBA from being the best league in the world until they switch that up. And it's time. It's time. They've got the talent pool. They've got rising interest, and even if they add 2 teams, I still don't think it's going to be enough. I think we need to move the calendar.
Players that can't come over for the start of training camp because they're still in Europe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, just look at the EuroLeague and the Euro Cup finals. We had Katie Lou Samuelson, Tiffany Hayes, like you said, Natasha Howard, Isabel Harrison, Awak Kuya. Carly Samuelson, I reckon she's probably played well enough to get back on a WNBA roster. There were loads. There were loads. So, and that's not even mentioning the Borg over in Russia. Which is just a WNBA All-Star team.
Yeah.
Plus Alba Torrens, and 1 or 2 others. So I think it's time to, pull your big girl pants on and make the change, I think.
And the thing to also consider is last week we had finals. Tomorrow, Ekaterinburg and Kursk played their first of 3-game playoffs. The Spanish playoffs go for another 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Because they've still got semi-finals and stuff to play.
Yeah.
So it's a short window. It's a real short window to get players over there. And also, you're asking these players to play 12 months in a year. And then you're wondering why people go down hurt with knees and such. I don't know. Well, I think we do know. We do know the solution. Selfishly, I kind of like it as a summer thing because that means the best players come over and play in Europe.
It's basketball all year round. I'm not going to complain about that.
I'm not going to complain about that. Would never complain about that. But no, it does need to go to a minimum 6-month calendar. If you want to be a top tier league, you have to be a top tier league. You cannot be a not glorified. That's harsh, but a summer format league. So yeah, there we go. We're right in women's basketball in the WNBA again. Where would you like to see a team? If you could put teams anywhere, where would you plonk them? I'll give you a maximum of 4.
I have this weird affinity with San Antonio. It's because I'm a Spurs fan, but I would like to see them return. But I think it would be great to see one in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great to see one in the Golden State area, sort of that Bay Area. And we're never going to see one in. The NBA is looking very hard. The MNBA is working very hard at Mexico City. South America is fantastic for women's basketball. A lot of WNBA players go there to play their winter basketball. So it'd be interesting to see them get a team. And equally, there's always the dream of them having a London franchise or a German franchise or something, or a French franchise. But that's never going to happen. But yeah, I think Toronto for me would be fantastic to see.
They need to put a women's team in the Boston Garden. That needs to happen.
Yeah, I think
they've got Connecticut down the road.
That's the thing. They've got Connecticut just down the road. But that being said, my partner's parents went to Boston 3 years ago now, a little while ago, and I asked them to go into all the sports shops, see if they could see any Connecticut Sun jerseys, and of course there were none. None. And they said you probably need to go to closer to Connecticut rather than Boston, which is in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
that's right. Or you'd need to just order them online. They were pretty honest about it. Not many shops are going to have them. So yeah, it's it would be great to see one in Boston, but then you got Boston, you got New York, and you got a couple of others in that sort of northeast area, Washington. So I think might be overcrowding that area a little bit.
Cuts down on travel.
You need one in Philly.
But then again, we need one in Philly. But then, and then Toronto is right over the border.
Over the border.
It's the same place. So
Montreal, is that where you want one as well?
Yeah.
I like it. We need to fix these things. Huw, I'm not too sure how much longer we've got you for. We've already taken an hour of your time. I was hoping you would notice.
I'm here now.
So I brought it to your attention. I don't remember if we asked this last time. What's your condiment of the year?
My what?
I take it we didn't. Your condiment of the year.
What? What's a condiment? Like jam?
Yeah, like that. Well, I don't know. Oh, is jam a condiment?
A sauce.
That's like sauce.
A sauce.
Yeah.
I tell you what. I've been. I think it must have been at Christmas. There's a Welsh sauce maker. I think it's called Boglan. Or
That sounds about right.
Can't remember what it's called.
A Welsh sauce maker.
My parents bought me a bottle of sweet chili sauce for Christmas. It was lush, and I'm still working on it. Actually, the one thing I will say, I'm sure they're all big women's basketball fans. Sort out your bottles because they just don't work. Like you're trying to shake out the sauce, and it's a glass bottle. It's a beautiful bottle, but it's just not good for pouring. I've got to be fishing it out with a knife and stuff, and nobody wants that.
No one wants that. Plus, you're losing out on a lot of quality Boglan sweet chili sauce there because you're not getting that knife.
I'm not getting all of it. I'm going to have to water it down.
No one needs that. That's nightmare scenario. We have a comment. Chester Donnelly, getting involved. Cranberry sauce is a condiment, which is also a jam.
It's a fair point.
It is a fair point.
I'm not much of a cranberry guy, though.
I wasn't accusing you of being. Wonderful. Would you like to hang around for a few moments for Caz's corner and Caz's stat line of the week?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's travel over to Caz's corner. Still haven't made a graphic for it. Beyond this, boom. Welcome to Caz's corner.
That's a good looking graphic, Caz.
Oh, right now. Okay.
We're in your corner, bud. Yeah.
So, not a lot been going on in Europe aside from the big one of EuroLeague, like in the domestic leagues, everyone's having a bit of a break. So to quickly cover the EuroLeague final, we had Ekaterinburg and Avenida, which actually I think was a lot closer than people expected. UMMC won by 10 points, but Avenida jumped out to a 22-9 lead in the first quarter, which I think just surprised everyone, behind Tiffany Hayes' 13 points in the quarter, which was pretty phenomenal to watch if you can go back and watch it. Brianna Stewart was named MVP of the Final Four, and it's Ekaterinburg's 6th title. So they tie the record for most titles for a team.
Alba Torrens' 6th title.
6 titles with Diana Taurasi and Natalia Viru. Have I said that right?
Lots of nods.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, you had a bit of a face when... Sorry, Caz. I'm cutting over you.
No, go ahead.
Huw, you had a bit of a face when Brianna Stewart was named MVP. What's the story?
It's No, it shouldn't have been her. In my opinion, I thought Emma Miesemann or Courtney Vandersloot. It's mainly from the performance in the finals, rather than the Final Four. But I thought Brianna Stewart didn't play as well as she'd been playing in that final game. She had a couple of costly turnovers in important moments, whereas Vandersloot was, she was dominant from the point position, knew exactly when to pass and when to shoot, and when to shoot from mid range, when to go in for a layup. She was brilliant that game, I thought, and I've got a soft spot for Emma Miesemann anyway. She's probably my favorite women's basketball player at the moment. So I always feel it should go to her anyway. But I thought in that final she was she was like perfect. She was so clutch in certain situations, and she's just perennially underrated as a defender. I think she doesn't get the credit she deserves, and I thought she probably deserved it.
On the commentary, it sounded like it was going to Miesemann, and then it didn't.
It's interesting because it's a Final Four MVP, final MVP, which just seems strange. Really, you don't. Because
it feels like a very FIBA thing.
Yeah,
they have to be different, don't they?
Yeah,
because
we've got live rims. Like we're good. We give awards normally, but we'll keep the live rims. Is it just me with the?
No, I'm with you.
And the 5 second closely guarded. You love to see it. If we're allowed to go Final Four, then obviously it should have been Saty Sabally. Like, don't what are you saying?
So who was it that said that Fenerbahce Ekaterinburg game was going to be the closest of the two semi-finals? Me. That's who. And it was.
But was it the closest though? Because it was only really in like the last.
It was the closest score. My claim was it was going to be the closest score.
Fair enough, but I think that the last 3 minutes, until the last 3 minutes, it was only 2 points in it. They had a chance to. It was just an awful possession by CBA to. I think it was Tiffany Hayes had the ball, and it was just such a crap possession where they were down 2. They had a chance to tie it, and I think it was Van der Sloot again who got the steal and got out on the break. Mm-hmm. But like Chester was saying, I think Griner was solid as well. It's just a shame that she can't perform on the WNBA level, isn't it?
Well, I was going to say, is this a return to form for Brittany Griner, and are we going to see her doing her business in the W? Is she still in Phoenix? She didn't end up in. She didn't end up in Minnesota in our fantasy, like our fantasy suggested.
There were a few rumors about going to Dallas, I think, at one point.
Yeah, there were for like all of the picks.
I mean, when you say return to form, how do you define that?
Take her European form and put it in the WNBA.
That's the thing. I don't think, personally for me, I don't think she's ever lived up to the hype in the WNBA. I think she's got the height, but she never goes inside in the WNBA. She's a terrible rebounder in the WNBA for her size. She's a good defender. She can block shots, but I think the European game suits her to so much more.
And also, could it also be you're asking her to play 12 months, and maybe she's not built for 12 months.
Maybe
because that's ridiculous, still ridiculous. What did you make of? Again, this sounds like I'm dunking on FIBA. I love you, FIBA. You're great. If you ever want me to commentate women's basketball for you, I will. I swore when they put up the Final Four MVP for the Euro Cup, they put Carrera Quintana's name on the graphic, just for a moment. Did I dream that?
I can't remember seeing it. Sorry.
I may have dreamt that.
No, I thought you did it at the time.
Because I was like, that isn't her, but I thought she could very well have been. All right, Caz, what else is going on in Caz's corner?
We are gearing up for the Spanish finals and the Turkish finals late this week. And that is about it, apart from my stat line this week.
And of course, the Russian finals, like we've mentioned, they tip off tomorrow.
I mean, that's kind of decided already, isn't it? So
yeah, Kursk, Enrique Gumbawale, they're taking it. So Enrique in 2, don't worry about it.
Do you want my my stat line? Oh, there has been some Swedish and Kosovan basketball. That's where we're going to head to.
Oh, right. Let's see the stat line of the week. Cazzy B.
So, 3 stat lines for you, Huw, and you and Darren need to pick your stat line of the week. So, first of all, we have Sarandra Daki in Kosovo. She's playing for Bashkimi. She had 19 points on 9 of 16 shooting, 15 rebounds, 6 were offensive. I've put this in now.
Yeah, thank you.
5
assists, 3 steals. Not stars.
I was going to say, what's a star?
Every time I change to L and press return. They beat Penza in the final, so they are now tied 1-1.
Ooh.
And then in Sweden, we have Clara Lundqvist playing for Alvik against Luela. They won 92-73 and went 2-0 up in the final. She had 25 points, 12 rebounds, 2 offensive, 2 assists, and 4 steals. And then Janelle McCarville, ex-WNBA player, playing on the same team as Clara. 20 points, 13 rebounds, 3 offensive, 5 assists, 1 steal, shot 7 of 10 from 2 and 2 of 2 from 3.
Those are some pretty impressive numbers. As a defensively minded person, I'm inclined to go with Clara there. But equally, I think she's I haven't watched any of these games, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm just going by numbers. But it looks as if she's had a trigger-happy couple of games there as well. Scoring 25 points, and only 2 assists, which suggests to me she might have been quite keen to get her own shot off. So I'm not a fan of that. So I'm sort of torn. Clara is the one that jumps out at me there. She seems to have had a pretty good game.
Do you want to see it again?
You already know what I've gone for, Caz.
If you're just going to purely go off offensive rebounds,
it's not purely off offensive rebounds, but I mean it helps. Yeah, Sarandra Daz for me. 19 points. You love to see it. 15 rebounds, 6 offensive, plus the assists, plus 3 stars, whatever they are meant to be. Steals.
Stat has no one heard
Have you not heard this? Is it like when you
when
you shoot from the shoulder?
Yes, it is.
Yes, that famous spot on the floor, the shoulder. I don't know if I said it last night. I think I was in too serious a mood. Yeah, I'm going to go for that. And yeah, the offensive rebounds help because they're really important.
There and this of the 2, she was her team came back and tied the series, won by 5.
There you go, and all because of her offensive rebounds, no doubt.
Definitely. Yes.
There you go.
So well
That's
done.
Me. Who does she play with or against the ridiculousness that we've seen in past weeks?
So she plays on the same team as Aisha Balarambe last week, who ruined the stat line of the week for everyone.
Yeah, have a look at these, Huw.
44 points and 24 rebounds.
God, talk about looking for your own shot. Wow.
95% field goal when you're not missing.
Yeah. Wow. Why would you look for anyone else? Yeah, to be fair, I appreciate that you've given shout-outs to Hannah Little and Maria Kazalevich, but why would we even put those guys up there? 24 rebounds, what?
I almost felt like...
Only 7 offensive, though, you know.
Is it only?
Well,
I don't think I've got 7 offensive rebounds in my career.
Yeah, but Hannah Little had 11 offensive rebounds.
That's pretty
out of
ridiculous.
17. That's absurd. Did I go Hannah Little last week just for that ratio?
I think you wanted to, but you couldn't get past the 19 of 20 shooting.
Oh, yeah. I do value efficiency incredibly highly. I feel
and
it's
it's
scoring better.
To the final.
Oh, well, there you go. So there we go. Right, Caz's corner.
That is my European corner this week.
That is your European corner. Well, with the conclusion of Caz's corner, Huw, unless you want to hang around for a bit of WNBL, WBBL chat.
I'll listen to some WBBL. I was going to actually ask you guys what do you see unfolding in the championship?
Well, I'm glad you've said that. Are we all right to hold on quickly whilst we just have a word from our sponsors, Notch? Have a quick recharge of a glass, and we'll be back in about 35 seconds. Maybe a little bit longer. Word from our sponsors, Notch, the mark of achievement, and we are very glad to have them on board with FocusHoops this year. They make fantastic bracelets that look super stylish, and really help you celebrate your sporting achievement. They've just launched a basketball collection and we're really excited to be on board with them. Let's imagine that you're a player. Let's say that you're Courtney Vandersloot. You got 18 assists in a single ball game and you want a notch and a bracelet to commemorate that fact. Well, you can do just that. Customize it to your team colors, put the year that you achieved it, and get it the exact size that you need. There are a number of the colors available. Or maybe you're a coach. Maybe you're the coach of a basketball team. Let's just say that you're the London Tyrannosaurus Rex. Your team wears red. You had the league's most valuable player, the MVP, and you want to celebrate that. You want to award them with a great looking notch bracelet. Well, you can do just that. And you can get it saying MVP on the notch itself. That's the charm. You can get the colour you want. Gold is one that I'd go for if we're commemorating the best player in the league. We could even get the team logo, if it's the Tyrannosaurus Rex, let's say, on there. And present it in a beautiful presentation case. Huge thanks for Notch for coming aboard Focus Hoops. Welcome back to the Caz and Daz show. Thursday night BBL, WBBL, WNBL, women's basketball conversation with Kaz Bullock. And joining us, Huw Hopkins, the man, the myth, the Hopkins. WBBL roundup. Huw, you left us on a cliffhanger. What was your question?
Well, I'm just so I'm going to be working with Sky a little bit to do some coverage of the WBBL playoffs in the next few weeks. So I was keen to hear your views on just how you think the playoffs are going to be unfolding in the next few weeks.
Well, before we get into the playoffs, there's still a small matter of deciding where the league title goes.
Of course.
It's hard to look past Sevenoaks winning the league. They need to lose by 13 or more and then lose again to Caledonia Pride. So it's looking unlikely.
I think yesterday?
Yesterday.
Game? I think yesterday's game basically sealed it, didn't it?
Yeah. I was talking to some people. It's like they need to split and they win. And those people were like, why don't they just try and win all of the games? It's like, that is a good idea. Go win all the games. If you're this close to a perfect season, win all the games. So, yes, it's looking at Sevenoaks for the championship. In terms of the playoffs, of course, central venue playoffs. So we've got quarterfinals in Newcastle. Semi-finals, are they being played in Leicester as well as the final? Or is it the men's? Worcester. Women's semi-final in Worcester and then the final in Leicester. So, that does change things because you've got Sevenoaks having to make a long old journey and who they're going to face in that first round matchup. It's looking at this moment like it's Oakland's Wolves. Now, Sevenoaks going to fancy their chances in that matchup. Actually, and Oakland's also have to travel up from Hitchin, so that probably offsets it. But overall, Kaz, what are you seeing in the WBBL playoffs?
I think it's a Sevenoaks freight train all the way to the final against Leicester. But maybe London. I don't know. I've become very indecisive about these two now. I think there's quite a distinct gap, isn't there? And we've sort of seen it come throughout the season. The top. Sevenoaks are a league of their own, but then Leicester and London, those top three positions, no one wants to be in 6, 7, and 8 because nobody wants to face those teams. Rhiannon Bailey and Siobhan Pryor were on the BBL show the other day on her Facebook Live. Rhiannon said she thought they matched up better with the teams that they were against Nottingham. Of what you would kind of take in the playoffs. And I think it looks like Manchester and Nottingham will finish 4 and 5 with the games that they have left. I think it's maybe a fight in 5th between Essex and Manchester. But certainly nobody wants to be in 6, 7, and 8.
As a Met Mystics fan and, of course, perfectly unbiased commentator, do you want Essex in the quarterfinal?
I think Manchester would like to play Essex in the quarterfinal, but I don't think they can. I don't think it will fall that way.
No. No, you're right. It wouldn't. It would be Wildcats.
Yeah, and I think so. If Manchester win one more game, they will be in 5th, I think.
Yeah, they'd leapfrog Essex because they've got the head-to-head. So,
yeah.
How do you feel about Wildcats in the quarterfinal?
Well, every time they've played them, it's been quite a disaster on the Manchester side. You know how I love watching Chelsea Shumpert, but I don't love what she does to my team, but I love watching her. I wonder if the last game they played in Nottingham, there was a second quarter that didn't go quite to plan for Manchester. That quarter
was it 3 points?
Yeah. Sophia Song's 3 points.
Well,
that quarter aside, which is hard to discount. They unfortunately they match up better without Joyner. Obviously, we want to see Joyner there, but just the nature of the teams as it is at the moment, Manchester probably do match up best with them. But it would be really tough because they've been really. I think they played them 4 times this season.
At least it feels like more.
I think I've seen them 3 times. So, so it will. I think it'll be really tough. But it's a central venue. It's a one-off game, isn't it? Things can happen. But that to me looks like that will be the matchup, and that's the one I think I'd prefer to see. As a Manchester fan.
I don't know what the COVID protocols will be, but do you think some teams would consider sort of going down the day before, staying in a local hotel, that sort of thing, rather than, just trying to have the stress of traveling and, sitting in a bus for, some teams up to 3 hours, feeling all cramped and then having to go play? Do you think many teams will look at that?
I think there's probably some teams that it's more feasible, isn't it, than others, just with players working.
I'd expect to see the Suns, Riders, Lions go up. I'd expect to see those 3 go up the day before. Maybe the Wildcats, maybe the Mystics. I can't speak on the rest. Eagles don't have to; they're already there. Lucky them. But yeah, it's a big question, and we also need to look at it and be like, why aren't we seeing at least a 2-game, 3-game series?
You don't want a 2-game series. Nobody wants a 2-game series.
Nobody wants a 2-game series, but
nobody likes an aggregate score, do they?
No. Though it was pretty cool that one time the Lions and Wolves in the MBBL went to overtime after an aggregate. That was pretty wild.
But it went to overtime after a team was up at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Silver lining. I don't know. I can't look past a Seven Oaks run through to the final. Who they face is going to be an interesting question. I assume we're going to look at a Riders Lions semi-final. And I think Saturday is going to tell us a lot about that, who Seven Oaks face in the final. I think it's going to be the Riders. I think we're looking at a Suns Riders final again. I think Lions, as good as they've been, and my God, the jump from last year has been fantastic, and it's really been impressive. The players they've been able to sign, the coaching from Mark Clark, the gym looks wonderful. I really like the Bark and Abbey gym. I've never been, but it looks great. Uniform, blah, blah, blah. All very, very positive. But there's been a lot of pressure on them lately, and they have creaked in a big way. They've lost the games to Seven Oaks. They put the pressure on Seven Oaks a little bit at home, but then they still couldn't get it over the line.
But I don't really knock them for that. I think that's any good team. If you go up against Seven Oaks, you can scare Seven Oaks, or you can concern Seven Oaks at least. But actually, Seven Oaks, it doesn't matter who you play in. They can have 5-minute stretches, which is a long time in 40-minute games. they can have 5-minute stretches where they're just going to say, no, you're not scoring. And it's quite terrifying that they're able to just put the clamps on a team like that. I don't know what they have, whether it's a switch or whether it's, it's different, different strategies on defense. I'm not going to try and embarrass myself and saying that I watch every game this year, but when I watch them, it just seems like they are able to turn something, whether it's going to a zone, or switching the defensive scheme, and they're able to just shut down any offensive system, whether it's run through the perimeter or run through bigs in the post. And the game yesterday was a perfect example of that. I think there were 2 5-minute stretches where the Riders really struggled.
So I'm going to follow up on that, and I don't disagree with what you've said. So they lost to Sevenoaks. Then they sort of squeaked one against Caledonia. Ended up being 6 points. It should have been closer. And, okay, you're on the road, and it's a couple of days after a big, it's going to be an emotional come down after a loss like that.
They had like half their roster missing that game, though.
Okay, fair. They dispatched Essex. Essex have been a bit interesting of late. And then they lost away to Leicester. And again, Loughborough is a very, very tough place to go, tough team to face. So I'll be interested to see what happens this weekend. But for me, we're looking at a Riders Suns final. And I'm not going to make any predictions on that because I don't want to say Janice Monacana again.
If we are seeing a Riders Lions semi-final, which is what you predicted earlier, does it really matter at this stage that they've, had a few players resting? They've lost 1 or 2 games because they've taken their foot off the gas. Perhaps they are, perhaps, I'm not saying it's purposeful, but perhaps they are relaxing a little bit, knowing that they've either got the 2nd or 3rd seed. It's not going to make too much of a difference having home court advantage, that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, that favourable bench up in Newcastle is what they always say. No, I do hear your point, but for me, and I was having this argument with somebody yesterday. Oh, this not argument, but this conversation with somebody yesterday that winning breeds winning when you are a top team. And also, if you take your foot off the gas a little bit, you relax a little bit, do you have that switch to go back to? If you release the pressure a little bit and go like, do you know what? If we don't win this game or we don't push blah, 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 does that breed more of the same? And that's my concern, my question. I'm not an elite coach.
And I think that's an important question to ask with the Lions. Like you said, last year, not so hot. This year, they've taken this huge leap. But can they take that extra final step at the key moments of the season? I think those are the questions that are going to be asked of a team, of a rising team. Whereas, you've got Sevenoaks and even Riders. Yeah, Riders have got some new faces and some returning faces, but they've organizational pedigree. Maybe you want to notch it down to, but certainly Sevenoaks have been around for a long time. That team has been together. They know what they're doing.
And Len isn't letting them off.
Yeah,
for a millimeter, for a second.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I come at it from. Again, my opinion may swing rapidly if London go out and run Riders off the floor on Saturday. That could change things because. But then, what are the Riders holding? Taking your point again, do the Riders look at the league as an insurmountable position, and they're just like, do you know what? Let's take our foot off the gas. Let's hide a few things from the Lions the second go around.
You probably want the second to finish second, though, so you avoid Sevenoaks until the final.
I mean, to be the best, you've got to beat the best. Get them out of the way.
But they wouldn't
be able to play.
Because they're not going to drop down to 3rd, are they? 4th, are they?
No.
They could. London and Leicester can swap places.
But the highest seed that Sevenoaks would play would be the 4th seed.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Unless I'm completely not getting.
Have they got a fixed bracket, or do they reseed it? Because I know that typically they reseed.
Oh, are they? Okay. Oh, I was going off a 1-8 format.
That was my feeling. Is maybe I'm talking at cross purposes.
David Smith says, played 7 Oaks tougher than anyone. Did not have their post against Riders.
Paige Robinson's not been in the lineup for a little bit.
Again, she's a huge part of that team, and it's that same question of how are they coping at the moment and moving forward. It's an interesting one. I would like to see proper explanation of the playoff format, because again, as it's been in the past with the MBBL and the WBBL, they've reseeded. So sorry to talk about men's basketball right now, but very quickly, when Plymouth knocked out the number 1 seed Lions a couple of seasons ago, what was their reward? Oh, they got to play the number 2 seed Leicester Riders. Well, that's fun, isn't it? They played them fairly close, but they were, So I'm not entirely sure. Is what?
So you're not locked into a bracket in the same way that you are in, say, the MNBA or the WNBA.
That's how it's been, certainly in the past, and I've not seen anything to suggest it is a fixed bracket at this point.
A fixed bracket.
I like a fixed bracket. It's more, I'm all for chaos.
I like a fixed bracket because, as well as the chaos, like that again. Sorry to talk about men's basketball, but Plymouth, they deserved an easier route through. Like, you've just knocked off the league champions.
Yeah.
You deserve somebody that's not as good as Leicester in the next round, even if you end up getting done in by them in the O2 Arena. Because whoever was going up against them, bar London, was getting run up and done up. That's just facts. What's more important, championship or playoff? Which one qualifies for Champions League? It's not quite that simple, Chester, in terms of Champions League. From what I understand, there's more of an application process versus just being the champion.
I thought Champions League, maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but it is a bit more like what they were trying to do with the European Super League in football. I don't know football very well, so I didn't even follow this story as much as other people.
You know men's EuroLeague?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what they try to do with football.
I thought it was more like Champions League, Basketball Champions League. Because isn't Basketball Champions League, it is almost like an application process? Oh no, it's based on champions around each. I'm not sure.
So let's just talk about championship.
Now.
So in terms of what's more important, championship or players, it depends who you ask. Rob Paternostro men's. Rob Paternostro told me he like championship. I mean, he wants to win them both. It's Rob Paternostro. But championship as a coach has that slightly more satisfaction because you've been the best team over 33 plus games. Whereas, playoffs, that's a one-time deal. But you always want to win the last game of the season. So playoffs is also awesome. So it depends where you rank those two feelings, essentially. For me personally, I don't know why we give out a league if we're going to have a playoff. But, we're in the UK and that's kind of what we do.
But I like it. I think we should see more of it. You should be rewarded for playing well during the regular season. And if you look, you'll have to forgive me, Chester. I follow American basketball more than anything else, and I think it's sort of a shame that all the awards, all the individual awards, are all based on the regular season. So you have your MVPs, your Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year. All of that, that's all based on the regular season, yet you win nothing for winning the regular season as a team. I just think that's a bit of a shame, And also, if you had a championship, it would reduce the tanking later in the season.
100%.
The resting of players, if you had something to shoot for. So personally, I think it is the playoffs, because that is I think it's higher pressure. I think it's more difficult when the stakes are being raised. You're also playing against only good teams in playoffs. But at the same time, there should be something to recognize for the championship. I mean, and then we could talk about cups and silly things throughout the rest of the season, trophies at the rest of the season, which is
now you wanted some something for the winners of the league, right? Check this out. Let me take you on a journey. I'm going to take you to the Korean Basketball League. That's right, Michael Hansen Morris. I'm talking about Korean basketball again. Sorry, baseball even. Anyway, right. Here's what they do in Korea. So, and here's my grand idea, okay? You want to give the 1 seed a little bit more, just a little bit more spice, okay? Here it is. Best of 3 series. They have a 1-game head start on the 8 seed.
I personally like the concept of the 1 seed chooses who they want to play.
I like that too. I quite like that. But right, check this out. Len Bush. Let's just imagine that the league season ends as it is. Len Bush. Len, you won the league. Congratulations. Here's your lovely trophy and a medal. Who do you want in the first round? We'll have Leicester.
Ooh.
Imagine.
That would be fun,
Imagine that.
That'd be such a statement, wouldn't it?
That would be a statement. Like that's mind games. Above everything else, that's mind games. Sky would be very displeased by this. I don't think the WBBL would love it either. But I'm here for it. I am here for it. Another question from Chester. Again, thank you as always, Chester and David Smith. And anybody else? We've got Huw Hopkins. Ask him a question. It's not like you answer loads of questions on Twitter, but still, that's beyond the point. That's another question. Why is fair qualification so important in football, but not important in basketball? So again, you're talking about like the Euro League in the men's side of things, where they've got a bunch of owners of the league, and they're always in it: Barcelona, Real Madrid, etc., and so on. And then a couple of teams qualify in if you finish high enough in your very high-ranked league. I don't know if I agree with the question so much, because this is a huge controversy in at least was 20 years ago, and it still is pretty tense between FIBA and your league.
I mean, going back to that, you'll have to forgive me, Chester. I don't really follow this silly kicking game, but
could you sound more Welsh right now?
The whole European Super League thing that's gone on in football this past week, there's obviously a lot of arguments both ways, but ultimately I don't see any issue with a select group of teams, whoever they are, going off and saying, should we just have a tournament or should we have a few games just to make a bit more money? Yeah, okay, it's not the best thing for if people want to go and watch those games, if people want to pay 300 quid just to go watch Manchester United versus Inter Milan, I don't even know if they were the teams in it, but if millionaires want to spend that money, that's up to them. But why should that preclude those teams from playing in regular seasons? Now, one of the arguments is, well, they're going to be getting so much more money from that extra tournament that it'll create a bigger divide. That's why a salary cap is so useful, I think, across any sport. It levels the playing field. It lets you know who's the good managers and who's the good team, backroom operations, as well as on the field. It means that you have an equal playing field. So teams like Cardiff can go up against Manchester United and they'll have the same amount of money going out for players. So how you attract those players and because let's be honest, there are some teams in football that you don't necessarily want to go live in those locations. You know, there will always be a draw to London, to Birmingham, to maybe Manchester. No offense, Caz. You know, but there are certain cities and certain locations in the world where actually you want to go. You know, just like you do in American basketball, you have New York, you have LA. You know, you have those premier franchises that people want to go play in because they're just in nice cities. But the fact is, you can have teams like San Antonio in the MNBA to sort of, you know, they're such a well-constructed team and have been for 25 years that they can win 5 championships, which is coincidentally the same number as the LA Lakers have won in the past 25 years. So there are those opportunities where you can have those lower, small, you know, you can have your Cardiff or you can have your Bristol or your Plymouth, you know, go up and play these top teams on an even keel. And yeah, so that's my rant. Not knowing anything about football, knowing a limited amount about the construction of EuroLeague and the Basketball Champions League at the same time. That's I think that's a good way of doing it.
I think in terms of qualification for Champions League and FIBA Euro Cup, you basically have to. There is an application process, and you have to be able to meet certain like thresholds. But in football, you have to basically meet those same thresholds. You can't get promoted to the Premier League if your stadium isn't up to scratch. You can't make it to the to the Cymru Premier if you don't have the correct paperwork. You know, Hill, one of the most famous teams in all the Welsh football, where are they now? They're out of business because they were refused their league license. So even though by merit, they were doing pretty good in the league. They were top half, easy. And their stadium still gets used for all the big European games. So explain that one. I say big European games. We don't really have those. K-Connor versus Slavia Prague, was it? No, Bratislava. Oh, what a night that would have been. Colwyn Bay, just 2 years away from European football, potentially. Anyway, David Smith says, you win home court advantage based on regular season record. This is very valid, except for when it isn't, which is this season. Which is why I'm saying we need to borrow the Korean baseball method and best of 3 series with a 1-game head start to the 1 seed. Just change it up a bit.
And also, is there? Well, no, maybe that's a stupid idea. I was going to say maybe there's an idea to put the playoffs in a neutral location every year, but then, you know, I think
that's revenue.
Yeah, I think that'd be difficult, wouldn't it?
Also, I want to commentate a playoffs, please.
Unless you want Final Four that you keep pushing.
Yeah, I like a Final Four. I know I was watching a few weeks ago when Michael was on and he wasn't so much a fan of it, but
have you heard his story about him working a Final Four?
No.
And basically he just didn't sleep. The long and short of it is that guy just did not sleep.
Yeah, I mean,
he was also working for the MBBL side as well.
I worked a Euro basket a few years ago, and I was it was in Serbia, and I basically went for the quarterfinals onwards, and you don't sleep, you don't so I would wake up, you know, probably around 8, do a bit of research about the players that I was going to be following that day, the games that were on. You'd get to the arena about 10 for like the first game at about 11. You would watch 3 or 4 games in a day. You would write a report, or certainly my job as a journalist would be writing a report, interviewing players after every game. And you'd get back to the hotel and actually you realize, I haven't actually written the reports. What I've done is I've just thrown a couple of pieces of scrap quotes and half a paragraph here and half a paragraph there and a scoreline there. And what's that layup relating to? When was that I made a note of? You know, so then you've got to sort of rethink about it all in your head, and you end up writing 4 articles for 4 games by the time you get home, which is around 11 o'clock at night. So then you're working for another 3 or 4 hours before you even get any sleep. It's quite intense. That being said, it's super fun.
Yeah, the most I've done is 2 in BBL's finals days. But let me tell you, commentating 4 games in a day in the National League finals, oh my goodness, that was busy stuff.
That sounds
and then it was great. Loved it. David Smith, we've addressed that. Thank you. Chester says, you make some very good points. We often do. Salary caps are very important to make leagues sustainable and competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I would
yes and no.
The thing is, even in domestic leagues, in domestic basketball leagues, there is a sort of unwritten rule or a sort of verbal salary cap in BBL and WBBL. Well, that being said, I don't know.
That is a cap. I think it's a soft cap.
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily get penalised for going way over it. In the same way that you do in MNBA and WNBA. Because you've got teams like, sorry to talk about men's basketball, but you've got London Lions in the MBBL, where they've. I wouldn't even be prepared to hazard a guess with how much money they're spending on DeAndre Liggins, for example. But that's a huge contract on top of several other contracts. He is an American, so there are exceptions around it, is my understanding.
I don't think so, but the two highest paid Brits stays off the books. That's terms of the cap.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, you've got some money to play with because you can employ certain British players to receive the most of the money. And is that the same in the WBBL? You might know more, Caz.
To be honest, I'm not sure what the rules are there.
Yeah, I haven't read any sort of. Oh, and the thing is, I haven't read anything about the MBBL, but I think it's just a bit more known about that league.
We have more questions. David Smith says, or comment rather, should be 2 out of 3. Yes.
Yeah.
It should. And David Smith also comes back with, if WBBL MVP was chosen today, the winner is Kat Carr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other player I would consider giving votes to, but not giving the award to, I think would be Kennedy. I think she's a big reason why that team has turned around this year. And they're only going to go as far as she takes them, but absolutely, it's Kat Carr.
Yeah, those would be my 2, very much in that order. Right, very quickly, we do not have heaps of time. Where's it gone? Right, very quickly, we just need to do Team of the Week for the WNBL, and then we'll look at you.
For WBBL.
Pardon?
Do you want a Game of the Week for the WBBL?
Oh, we're going to come to that. We're going to finish on that one, Caz. All right, very quickly. Player of the Week, Molly Lavin. More numbers for you here, Huw. Player of the Week, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 100% field goal percentage, an efficiency of 30. She did it all for her Kohler Suddock Pride, still in the title chase. They could do it off the bench, by the way.
That's impressive.
That is impressive. She also had 3 assists. So good stuff there. Molly Lavin, they beat Met Cardiff 88-53. McConnor Stone was one of your players of the week as Riders came back from their loss last week. 13 points, 15 rebounds, 9 steals. Oof. Very, very nearly player of the week honours for McConnor Stone. Harriet Wellham had another ridiculous scoring performance, though slightly less scoring, but still an excellent week. 27 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 29 efficiency, as Ipswich continue their charge atop the WNBL standings. Now, Inez Guerrero. Somebody was asking me, what did Inez do to reserve Player of the Week honors? Let me tell you what she did. She hit 14 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, at 83% field goal. So really, really efficient. Again, one of the most efficient scorers of the week. And then finally, rounding out, Maddie Bidette, Nottingham Trent University, 26 points, 5 rebounds, 24 efficiency. Again, it was a toss-up between her and her and Evie Decker for that one. 26 points from Evie Decker. Decker did a lot of her work in the fourth quarter, which is great. But I like, again, the efficiency that Maddie Bidette had, and you've got to score your points early in the game as well as in the fourth quarter. Like, you have to have your team in that position. So it was a little bit of a toss-up between those two. I went with the slightly higher shooting percentage, scoring efficiency with Maddie Burdett. They are your teams of the week. WNBL is, I think pretty much as we left it in terms of the standings, in terms of all of that business. Though, did we not have a game tonight? We did not have a game tonight in the WNBL. Oh, it's tomorrow night at 8:15. Got me again. WNBL, you got me again. Okay, Caz, let's hear your WBBL game of the week.
So really, all of them are games of the week. You need to watch every single game and find a way to do that, because there's about 10, 11 between now and Wednesday. But the game of the week that you should watch is Newcastle and Manchester on Sunday the 25th at 1:30 p.m. Alison Gorel is on some kind of tear the last few games. Well, she has been all season. She's phenomenal. She's leading that team in scoring. She's leading the league in scoring. And Newcastle have had a nice little turnaround the last few games after their slow start with some injuries and roster changes. And the Mystics are always fun to watch. Georgia Jones, the fantastic Georgia Jones, also leading her team in scoring. It's going to be a battle between Georgia and Alison. And it's a game Manchester want to win to get higher up in the seedings. Newcastle in 7th place currently in the standings as well will also want to try and bump themselves up a bit.
Huw, you can help me out here. Last week, I referred to George Jones as the Paul Pierce of the Manchester Mystics, and by that I mean if you stay with me.
Okay.
If you look at the Celtics of the 2000s, he tops every statistical category every year. He is everything for that team. George Jones, likewise. Pretty much everything for this Mystics teams. No disrespect to anybody else on that team. You're all amazing. Friends of the show. But George Jones, her numbers are just ridiculous. Who in a WNBA sphere should I use it as a comp as opposed to the truth himself?
That's difficult. You could go... I mean... in some seasons, you could go Diana Taurasi when she's firing on all cylinders, because she does lead every category. More recently, more likely to be Brianna Stewart, or I guess we could see. I mean, in all fairness to Georgia, I mean, I love her, but she's not quite on like a Sabrina Ionescu level of dominance, and we are yet to see Sabrina Ionescu have level of dominance yet, because she's only played 2.5 games. But she is certainly, led across the board in terms of every category. But averaging triple doubles and stuff. Georgia Jones isn't quite there in terms of the statistics, but I think it's very her role is very similar to Holly Winterburn in some respects, in terms of if we're talking comps in the WBBL, because they both dominate the statistical categories, and they are the best players, but they both play within a system. There's both of those players, there seems to be very little ego when they're out on the court. Georgia Jones astounds me because she'll play lockdown defense. She'll tie her shoes tight so she can fight over screens and that sort of thing. But equally on the offensive end, yeah, she brings the ball up, but she will set screens for every player on that team. And she'll pass you if you're open, even though it might be likely that you're going to miss. She plays the right way, and it's a joy to watch her play.
Well, there you go.
I was worried that there had been some sort of strippers on Instagram sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. See, you had to bring up. Can't have nothing nice around here. I tell you that. He's still my favorite basketball player in my lifetime so far. So him and like Melligraph, it's like 1A and 1. All right, that's going to do it for this evening. Caz, have I missed anything?
No.
Smashing. Right. Let's kick off with you then, Caz. Caz, where can people find you on the internet? Where's your? Oh, there it is. It's literally at the top. Of course it is. Number one, the most important.
Commentating the Mystics and Caledonia game on Saturday, after which we will have some Mystics end of season awards, our award for the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Debut Season of the Year. So we'll be posting about that after the game. And to below.
There you go. Hooping Kazzy B on Twitter for all of Kazzy spicy takes. We got Huw Hopkins.
Hello.
Where can people find you? What have you got to plug? Plug away.
Well, yeah, I'll be, like I said earlier, I'll be covering some WBBL stuff starting next week, all the way through the playoffs, hopefully on Sky Sports. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I'm on all other platforms, Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok, ladies and gentlemen, at the Hoops Nerd.
Whoa, that is a line I personally have yet to cross. Hi, Darren Paul, WNBL and BBL commentator. You can't hear me anymore commentating because London Lions, they're done at home. Won a huge game last night, 86-81 over the Leicester Riders. Go and check it out on the BBL Player. It's great. I'm on Twitter at Away to Touch. Not heaps. I was tweeting about Welsh domestic women's football last night, so that was great. Since when is a handball by a keeper out of the box not a red card anymore? Swansea got very, very lucky in that game. Anyway, that's a complete tangent. Thank you very much for joining us as ever. Huw, thank you so much for giving us your time. You're very, very, very generous with it this evening. So thank you for your time and your expertise.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And listen, no more snub chat, right? You have an open invite at any point on a moment's notice. You're like, give Caz a buzz. Realistically,
just drop in.
Get me in. We'll just send you the link beforehand. Just
send it to me every week. If I turn up, I turn up.
Hey, there we go. With the graphics made, so we're all good. All right. Thank you so much. Enjoy yourselves this weekend. Heaps of women's basketball to keep you entertained. And it's a beautiful, beautiful weather out there. Go sit, watch it on your phone. Hey, does that sound like a fantastic weekend or what? All right. We'll talk to you next Thursday.